Welcome to your storytelling. Enjoy the stories, and don't forget to subscribe. I thought he was just going to the gym every evening. Little did I know, he was leading a double life. At first, I had no reason to doubt him. He seemed so dedicated to fitness. But something about the way he'd leave, his clothes smelling fresh and his hair perfectly styled, felt off. He always seemed to come back so late, never sharing details of his workouts. One night, he came home later than usual. It was already past midnight, and I hadn't heard from him. He walked in looking different. The expression on his face, almost sheepish, made me wonder if he was hiding something. I casually asked him about his night, and he shrugged it off, claiming he had stayed late at the gym. But something didn't add up. I couldn't shake the feeling something was wrong. I checked his gym bag one morning and noticed something strange. A mask. A costume. It wasn't anything I'd ever seen before. I froze. I thought, maybe it was just a prank, but the more I thought about it, the more I knew it couldn't be a mistake. Why would he need a mask for a workout? I couldn't help myself. I did some digging. That mask wasn't just any mask. It was elaborate, detailed, a character's disguise, like something out of a cosplay event. It hit me like a ton of bricks. Was he pretending to go to the gym, or was there more to it? I asked him about it the next day, but his answer was vague, defensive. The pattern continued for weeks. He would leave for the gym, but I started noticing things that didn't add up. His phone would buzz constantly with unknown numbers, and when I would glance over, he'd quickly put it down. I started to feel the weight of his secrecy. And then one day, I decided to follow him. I parked a block away from the gym, just as he was about to head inside. But instead of entering the gym, he turned the corner. I kept my distance, heart racing as I followed him. To my shock, he walked straight into a building I'd never seen before. It wasn't a gym at all. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. The building was filled with people dressed in full cosplay attire, characters from anime, video games, and movies. My mind was spinning. What was he doing here? And why was he so invested in these events? I watched from a distance, hoping to catch him in the act. As I walked around the building, I spotted him. He was wearing a completely different outfit, his hair styled differently, and he was talking to a woman. I felt a pang in my chest. There they were, laughing, as if they were something more than just friends. My heart sank. This wasn't just about costumes anymore. The woman he was with looked familiar. I racked my brain, trying to figure out who she was. She wasn't just any woman. She was someone I had seen at gatherings, events. She was one of his friends, or so I thought. I watched them interact, and it became clear they were closer than I could ever imagine. I couldn't stop watching. She was his girlfriend, dressed up as a character I didn't even recognize. They were so natural together, as if they had been doing this for a long time. A cold shiver ran through me. I was the one being played, the one left in the dark. I had no idea who this other woman really was. The next day, I confronted him. I asked about the cosplay events, the mask, and the woman. He tried to deny everything, but his eyes couldn't hide the truth. He was caught. He admitted to going to these events, but claimed it was just for fun. But when I mentioned his girlfriend, his expression changed. He admitted it. He had been leading a double life. The gym, the workouts, none of it was real. The real world he was living in was full of cosplay, different identities, and his relationship with her. He claimed it was a harmless hobby, but I could see the guilt in his eyes. He had been hiding this from me for months. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The man I thought I knew, the one I trusted, had a whole life I knew nothing about. He'd kept secrets from me. And worse, he had a girlfriend. A part of me wanted to scream, but another part of me just felt numb. Was everything I thought we had just a lie? I pushed for more answers. He told me about how he had gotten involved in cosplay years ago, but it had turned into something deeper. He became attached to this world, and to her. It wasn't just an affair, it was a whole lifestyle. A different persona, different clothes, different relationships. Everything was fabricated. I spent the next few days in a haze, grappling with the betrayal. How could I have missed it? Why didn't I notice the signs? He'd lied to me so convincingly. I felt foolish, angry, and sad all at once. But I couldn't let it go. I needed to know everything. I needed closure. I decided to meet her. It wasn't something I ever thought I'd do, but I needed answers. I found out her name, Hannah. She was friendly, warm, and completely unaware of the pain she was causing. When I confronted her, she was shocked, apologizing repeatedly. She didn't know I existed. Hannah told me everything. She had no idea that he was still involved with me. To her, they had been in a committed relationship for months. He had told her that he was single and had been playing two lives. One as the dedicated boyfriend at cosplay events, and another as the gym-going partner at home. I was devastated. He had built a whole new life with her, one that I had no part in. The lies, the deception, it was all too much. I started thinking back to all the moments we shared, how he would disappear for hours and make excuses. It all made sense now. I had to make a decision. Could I ever forgive him? Could I rebuild our relationship after everything he had done? I wasn't sure. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized I had to let him go. He had created this other world without me, and now I had to step away from it. I told him it was over. I couldn't be with someone who was living a lie. He begged for forgiveness, but I had already made up my mind. His secret identity, his double life, it was too much to overcome. I walked away, feeling like I had lost a part of myself. The days after were filled with sadness and regret. I felt as though my entire relationship had been a lie. The trust one had in him was shattered. But slowly, I began to pick up the pieces of my life. I knew I had to move on, but it wasn't easy. Looking back, I realized how much he had changed me. He had taken me for granted, played me for a fool, but I had learned a valuable lesson. I learned to trust my instincts, to question things when they didn't seem right. I wouldn't let someone do this to me again. It took time, but I eventually healed. The betrayal hurt, but I started focusing on myself. I spent more time with friends, rediscovered old hobbies, and began to feel like me again. The scars would always remain, but I was stronger than before. 1 year later, I had moved on. I wasn't the same person I had been when he walked out of my life. I had grown, I had learned, and I was now in a place where I could look forward to a future without him. My life was my own again. Just when I thought I was finally free of him, I ran into him at a coffee shop. He was alone, dressed in his gym clothes. I couldn't help but feel a pang of anger, but I didn't let it show. He tried to apologize, but I just smiled and walked away. I didn't need closure from him anymore. I had given myself the closure I needed. The past was the past, and I was ready to move forward. He was a part of my story, but not my future. I realized that my worth wasn't defined by him. I had the power to create my own future, filled with happiness, love, and honesty. I didn't need anyone who wore masks, literal or figurative. Years later, I met someone new. He was real, genuine, and honest. We laughed, we cried, we built something beautiful. I realized that love wasn't about pretending to be something you weren't. It was about being yourself, flaws and all. My life was everything I had ever dreamed of. I had found peace, love, and the happiness I had been searching for. The scars from my past no longer defined me. I was reborn, stronger, and wiser than ever before. And just like that, I said goodbye to the past. I wasn't angry anymore. He no longer had a hold on my life. I had found my truth, and it was beautiful. I walked away with my head held high, ready for whatever came next.